Hi guys, welcome back. So today's video is going to be a little bit different. I'm trying something new. I'm going to be doing a voiceover while I do my makeup from start to finish. And as you can see right here, I am just staring at my beautiful self. Just kidding, I'm adjusting the lighting and the camera angle, making sure that we are good to go. But seriously, I want to make sure that I can actually see myself. I just put some moisturizer on, so I'm making sure that that's kind of tacky and absorbed. And I've noticed I really need to cover this pimple a little bit. Reaching for the It Cosmetics Bye Bye Under Eye. And what you're really about to see is me really struggle to squeeze anything out of the tube. And really, it's pretty hard. This stuff is thick. It does you good, but it also does you in. So you can see right here, this stuff is really concentrated. So you saw how much I put on my finger. A little bit goes an extremely long way. And I even have enough on my finger to keep going and touch other spots on my face. If you've ever used this before, you're fully aware that if you put an amount on your hand that you typically use, like Shape Tape, you can conceal your entire body. So right now what I'm going to reach for is my favorite primer. This is by MAC. It's the Prep and Prime in the Pink Radiance. I usually take 2 pumps to the back of the hand, so if there's any kind of dried gunk, I can pick it out and not wipe it on my face. You're about to see me realize that I did something very stupid. Yep. I put concealer underneath primer. Well, double work, double the work, right? So I like to rub this in, make sure that it's kind of staying tacky. So I'm going to wait for a minute, put some concealer back on top of that little blemish that's almost healed before I really go in with my foundation. I feel like when you have a 3/4 the way dry base with your primer, you're going to have a better adherence with your foundation. That goes the same if you're using a great moisturizer before your foundation too. See how long it takes me to struggle with the tube again? And now this time, I had pretty much the same amount of concealer, but you'll see me use it kind of everywhere around the crevices of my nose. I have dogs in the background, obviously. You can see me looking around wondering what those foots be doing. See how much is still on my finger? Bam! And I did forget to mention the primer is a part of my Project Pan 2018 as well as the foundation I'm about to use. Always gotta make sure there's no boogies in the nose. I'm feeling tacky. This is Lancome Teint Idole Ultra Wear Foundation Stick. I'm in the shade 260 Bisque. Out of all the foundation sticks out there, I would say that this is definitely a favorite of mine. It was definitely a learning curve I had to use. But I'm doing parts of my face at a time because this stuff stains your face. It's not going anywhere once we put this puppy in. She is clocked in. She is not clocking out. So I've got my Booty Blender that is dampened with water first, and I always like to continue to redamp it with Max Fix Plus, so that way I can really move product around on my face. Because it is a drier stick, it's not very waxy. Wow, we've got zoom control. Bounce, 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 bounce. Just beat your face. The goal is to beat your face till you can't stand it anymore and just keep going. No boogies. And I promise you, every time I look up that extreme, I'm checking for boogies. I really learned with this foundation, less is more. I've applied it very thickly before in the past and truly regretted it, and Like I said, learning curve, but ultimately, I'm thoroughly impressed. Pow, 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 pow. Pop, pop, pop. So you can see it lays down really, really nice. There's not any cakiness. Now right here, the mistake that I did make is going heavily right between my eyes. You'll see in a little while, applying some setting powder. I kind of messed my makeup up, but miraculously I was able to fix it, so stay tuned for a little problem solving. Now with the stick foundation, I don't want to put it on top of my eyelids. If I was using a liquid foundation, say Makeup Forever Ultra Wear, see, no. I would use something like that on my eyes, but with this, the likelihood of it creasing is more likely to happen than with anything else, I'll tell you that. I can't really explain the science behind it, I'm just telling you, don't do it. Now I go back and forth with this foundation and wanting to wear concealer, so if I were to skip, I go right into setting powder, and I'm actually having that debate right now. But I think we're going to go ahead and use concealer. See, it's a good lay down. I hate when there's cakiness between your eyes or right around the crevices of your nose. Just kind of ruins everything for me. So today I'm actually using the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer in the shade Cannelle 2.75. And the way that I dot it, I'm actually following the bone, the eye socket bone, and I'm going all the way out to the side of my eyes to create that kind of Nike check mark. Whoop! And that's going to create a high point naturally of our face that kind of pulls our cheekbones upward, because ultimately whenever we're sculpting our face, we want everything to look like it's pulled back with that rubber band, but just not looking painful. So we're going to snatch it up, snap, 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 snatch, and pounce in that booty blender until we can't take it no more. I will say I do have depth underneath my eyes, a little bit more of sallow and some bluish, and I don't try to intensely cover it. I can have a little bit more drier under eye, so packing in a lot of extra product does not look cute, and I have a goal to look less my age than anything else. What I have in my hand, this is Patrick's powder from MAC. This is such an impressive powder. The finish is beyond impressive. Damp booty blender into the powder. And what I'm going to do is smudge out any kind of creases, and we're going to go in and set everything. And make sure you do not have any creasing happen. Smudge everything out before you press your powder into that face. Because girl, you don't want that shit to clock out early. Same thing. Smudgy, smudgy, smudgy. I don't really have too much creasing with the NARS Radiant Creamy. I feel like that's a great concealer for no makeup days. There are some others that I've had not as happy luck. Now, get ready for this. This is where everything goes wrong in a second. We're getting those smile lines first. Whenever I put powder in the middle of my forehead, we went a little too heavy, honey. Oh, girlfriend. This is going to help make up from creasing and really kind of hide smile lines too throughout the day with your application, I like. 3, 2, 1, makeup disaster. Ready? Boom. This is actually something I don't do that often. You can see I'm noticing I just fuck shit up right here in this moment. I usually will go a little bit lighter, graining in right between my eyes to get those two lines. And now I'm just kind of thinking, wow, I'm filming a tutorial and I've just fucked shit up. So I'm going to try to brush things on. And check this out, guys. I actually made it worse. See all that cake right between my eyes? Fascinating. And so whenever I rub it, it actually gets a little bit worse. So what we're going to do is damp, damp, damp booty blender. We're going to try to remove as much excess powder as humanly possible and kind of get back down to bare skin and start from foundation on up. I promise I fixed it. That was a little scary. So after I have set my face and worried about myself, I am priming my eyes with my Tarte Shape Tape. Now this stuff can be a little drying, but for me, when you want your eyeshadow to stay in place, this stuff, once it clocks in, it does not clock out until you want it to. Now watch my eyelids magically become the same shade as my face. Now, this stuff you don't necessarily need to set with powder, but you'll see in a second I'm going to set it with a color from the palette. Actually, no. I think I'm changing my mind mid-mindset here, and I actually used some of Patrick's powder to set my eyelids. You'll see in a second. It looks like I'm kind of rubbing and pulling and tugging at my eyelid, but I'm really just patting using different fingers that don't have that much product on it. So make sure you're not tugging at your eyelids. Tap-a-tap-a-tap. Ooh. And so here I am getting that Patrick's powder, and I'm going to use my MAC 224 brush. And really you can use kind of an excess, whatever falls onto your face can just flake away, or you can leave it for any kind of fallout from your eyeshadow. I have had this brush forever. It's one of my first brushes I ever got. Boy, does it last. So, highly recommend having one of these. Ooh, powder in the eye. So since I look a little ghostly, instead of going on my eyes, I'm going to start with my face. This is my favorite Laura Mercier bronzer in Bronze 03. And in my hand, I've got my Smith 112 brush, the bronzing brush. And this has been my favorite since it has gone into my paws. I really like to fill up the brush. It's a natural bristle, and tap off any excess that's really on the edge of the brush into these two spots on the corners of my head before I really go into my cheek. And so I'm going to deliberately show you what I do, and it's kind of a sculpting motion at the top and kind of a little bent triangle shape at the bottom, if that makes any sense. But I'm staying to a really specific area, and I really want to cut underneath my cheekbones, being mindful not to go below that sucking line. That's right, I said it. As terrible as it sounds, I'm going to create a bronzer helmet almost, like a Magneto style helmet. And this is going to erase that double chin by giving my jawline a little bit of a shadow. Ooh. Also the boogie check. Why so serious? And so when I do this right here on the other side of my jawline, it's actually creating definition. You can see when I look straight forward, I have a little bit more of a pronounced exterior jaw and interior. Now I'm going back with my eye brush, my 224, and this is where I'm actually going to create a little bit more definition going down the sides of my nose. And now more importantly, what I'm doing is that little corner crevice by my eye. I'm actually defining that a little bit more, so it gives you a little bit more of a defined brow bone. See what it did there? And so it's not a dramatic line that's painted on the side of my face. You want to go in and buff it, make it soft and natural as possible. You know, make that fake nose natural. And now I'm noticing a little bit of a cake on my inner eye, but c'est la vie. A little bit of bronzer underneath the eye. It helps to hide any shadows that you have there, but also kind of create a natural definition for your eyeshadow. Ooh, girl, hey. See, I'm feeling myself in the camera if you can't tell. Mm. And so now I'm going to move on to blush, and I'm debating on what blush I really want to use. So what this is Tarte Sensual. It's the prettiest boring blush I own. And what I'm going to do is really kind of overlay. Oh, this is my Smashbox and buildable cheek brush. Notice the shape of this brush. I love this. You can't go wrong with anything. So I'm really digging in. And I'm going to overlap the bronzer, but stay really high back on my cheeks. With this brush you can pat and you can brush on. And it just does such a nice job. I just want to let you know the expression on my face right here, even though I am being serious, while I'm doing this voiceover, I have tap dancing dogs in the background that are about to do me in. So I've actually muted several areas throughout this entire video. What I did there with the smaller side of the brush is I went on the high point of my nose and created a natural blush point there, because we don't just blush on our cheeks, do we now? We get flush all over, and really you want to put blush where you get flushed. I mean, not coating your face. Sometimes we always get completely flushed, but it does help with redness if you are, you know, flushing in certain areas. I don't know where I'm going with that. So right now is another deliberation of what step to go to next. I'm going to pull out one of my favorite highlighters. This is MAC Lightscape, and this looks like a foreign planet. I imagine the moon looks like this. And what I have in my hand, this is my Inglot 4SS. This is literally the softest brush that I own. Oh, my favorite highlighter brush. And I'm just scooping in this. This is a baked product as well, kind of like my bronzer, so scooping in it works best. And I'm dabbing the product on, and the most important thing I could ever tell you with highlighters is blend that shit into your skin. Don't let it sit on top, otherwise you're gonna have a silvery streak and look like a teenager. Blend, blend. When I'm doing my makeup, I actually call this scrubbing. Scrubbing bronzer, scrubbing my highlighter. Because you really do. If you want this to look natural, even if the color has a little bit more of a gray cast when you look dead on, if you scrub it and really kind of work the product into your skin, you're not going to have a lot of that unnatural, blinding glare, but at the same time, you can still build it up to those frequencies and not look that way. This highlighter is my favorite because it gives you such a natural, ethereal view. There's no glitter, no chunkiness, no extreme shine. You just look healthy AF. I could take a bath in this highlighter. Actually, it does look like a bath bomb. So, on my eyeballs, this is the Too Faced Clover palette. Now this, when I first saw this is a jumbled mess of colors, but the more that I play with it, I have to say, this is a top 5 favorite palette. That shade is called Chihuahua, or Chihuahua, depending on where you're from. And what I'm going to do is kind of build up my crease with Chihuahua and Fur Baby, those two brown shades up top. So I'm starting with the MAC 224. Now when I have my brush straight outward, the product's going to deposit right where I'm putting it. If you angle your brush down, you're more likely to drag the product down towards your lid. So be mindful of that as you apply. Keep the end of the brush up high. See what I did there? And so I'm going to deepen the crease with a little bit of Fur Baby. I'm just going to barely tap though. And so I'm kind of creating a shadow within shadow. So it kind of looks like when you open your eyes, there's a lot more depth, almost like there's a lot more eyelid back there that you don't know about, that you just want to discover. Maybe not. So this is my Zoeva 231. It's a little bit more defined crease brush. It's actually called the Petite Crease. Petite Crease. And so what I'm doing, I'm going into that mauve shade called Paw Print, dusting off the excess. And so I'm going to start with angling my brush outward and then tilting my brush down so it's the top shade part of my eyelid going into my crease is what's blending into that more mauvey purple cool tone shade. So the reason why I'm using 3 different colors in the transition is when we look at our face coloration, there's a lot of browns and neutral shades going on with the bronzer. And then with our eyeshadow, we're going to be using pops of cranberry and pink. So we want to make sure that we can make a natural transition from warm neutral to cool tones. I promise I've been looking up color theory a lot lately. I think I know what I'm talking about. If not, just nod. I really like that Zoeva brush. They're really inexpensive too. Look at that highlight. And so with that, so I'm having a little bit of a debate here. I'm thinking about going into that Daddy Loves Me shade, that dark cranberry, and I've just barely tapped. I'm kind of showing you how I've barely put anything. But this is a natural hair brush, so it's grabbing the product. It's going to kind of hold on to it as it distributes it. So you see I'm going to change over to a different brush because I ain't feeling it. And what I pick up, this is my favorite brush. It's my Makeup Forever 218. And this is a synthetic tip brush, so the best thing about synthetics is that whatever it picks up, it's going to immediately deposit it. So you can scrub and work things around a lot quicker because the product's sitting on the skin and not necessarily on the brush. Now, one thing I have noticed about this one cranberry shade is that it is super pigmented and not as blendable as the rest of these shades. It can be kind of dry, so you can tell its formula is a lot different from some of the other mattes in this palette. Ooh, boogie alert. Really, I did have to spend some serious time blending because you'll notice a lot of streaking and almost like a veininess with this shade. Although I like the color, the quality of it does not work the best. But when traveling, I'll deal with it. You can see I just barely press the brush into there and I'm just scrubbing lightly. Life lessons we can all relate to. A little bit at a time is going to make you a lot happier than dumping a shitload of a color onto your eyeball and then messing up your makeup. Remember what I did to my forehead earlier? And so we're not really building a cranberry eye, we just want to give it a little bit of exterior dimension because the crease shade, the shimmer that we're going to use, is going to be the real kind of player of the look. This is more of that Daddy Loves Me color. Daddy loves me. Scrub-a-dub-dub. And so there's a little bit of a harshness of that cranberry into the transition shade. I'm going to continue to buff, but since we've already used 4 colors, we might as well make it 5, 6, and 7, you know, to fully exercise all the accessibility in this palette. I'm going to go with Love is Love. I'm going to barely touch that, but I'm going to use that to kind of blend the crease into that, that paw print mauve shade. Just as a nice little flow upwards. And truly, you're not really going to notice it, but the reason why you don't notice it is because there's no harsh line going. And so I'm kind of freaking out about some weird cakiness right there, like I was talking about a minute ago. But c'est la vie. We're going to move past it. So this is the definition of who I am. It's called Cuteness Overload. I'm going to take my Smith 253 Arrowhead brush. I love this thing. And what I love about this pigment color here I'm putting on is that it picks up on the brush so impressively well, where some you have to finger apply. And this, even if you didn't blend out the eyeshadow well, putting this on top is really going to make this look. I love how easy this look becomes just by laying the shimmer shade over. It's really more of a peachy champagne, but it's a pure shimmer. There's literally no fallout, if you haven't noticed, underneath my eyes, so I gotta say, this is an impressive palette. So swipey. I've noticed the more I play with my makeup, I really like using a lot of these reds and cranberries. As you can see, I have green eyes, so they're very complementary colors, making my eyes pop a lot more. So looking at a color chart and kind of maybe looking up a few YouTube videos about the subject can really play up your eyeshadow game. I say that for sure. And so now I'm going to take the top corner shade, and I'm looking for my favorite new little smudge brush, which I will show you. And my eye brushes are all in one tiny little cup, and it's like a jungle in there. This is Marc Jacobs, the smudge. That's my bougie brush. And I'm taking the shade Puppy Eyes. Now I will tell you, this shade I initially did not think I would ever like. It is a shimmer shade with glitter in it, so there is some fallout, but it highlights really well. And I notice when I turn my head, you see those little sparkles of glitter everywhere, kind of scattered, and it works. I dig. Like I said earlier, this palette has really been kind of surprising me left and right with every shade that I use. Bougie brush, and this I'm just brushing out because up close you can see a little bit of a white cast in where the edges end. So I like to pack it on, but then also make a smooth transition. You can see that's just kind of naturally highlighting. It's doing two things. It's giving more depth to the upper brow bone area, but also increasing light where the corner of my eye starts. So this is by Hourglass. This is an itty bitty little kohl pencil, retractable pencil, 1.8 millimeter I believe. And I like how narrow this is, so I don't have to mush my eyes up to tightline. And I'm only going to tightline the upper, so that way it gives more dimension when I put mascara on in a minute. Oh, it tickles, and I'm about to cry and ruin this whole video. Hold it in, hold it in, hold it in. You can do this, you can do this. I'm noticing as I'm starting to tear up, my face is looking super powdery, so I'm not going to use that to our advantage today. But what we're going to do is go ahead and max fix plus it. We're going to fix it plus then some. I am addicted to Fix Plus, and I think everybody needs to try it. You can take a booty blender to just take away any excess powder, but also press in a lot of that liquid. As you can see, I'm a thirsty bitch. This is MAC Cosmetics in the Beat Me Zoom Lash. It's a dark cranberry shade. This is also in my project pan. This is a little trial size mascara, and I'm not sure why I haven't used this up in its entirety yet. But this cranberry shade works really well with the eyeshadow, but from far away, I don't think you can really tell that it's a cranberry color mascara. To me, it's more of just like a softer brown.
I had to get
and guess what?
Lipstick
My
out
favorite
of my
lipstick.
purse, and I'm having an internal debate on which one I want to go with.
Shall we go here? I'm actually making the choice to switch over and use the other. This is a retro matte lipstick in the shade Runway Hit. And you'll never believe I'm about to get really bougie and have two lipsticks on. So you notice I didn't use a lip liner. I'm kind of just going to make my lipstick a little soft and rub it to the exterior of my lip line. Because I'm not really going for a very defined lip here. With these retro matte lipsticks from Matte, they actually stay put pretty well. If you don't cake it on, it won't show any fine lines either. And this is just a little bit of a shimmer. And that's pretty much it, you guys. I'm gonna throw some fake audience cheering, but please tune in next time. Thank you guys for watching. Please check out my other videos and come back next time.